an 8-month pregnant woman, had to get up in the middle of the night every day to make a late-night snack for her mother who was playing mahjong. But tonight, she accidentally slipped and fell hard to the ground. The noise from her fall was immediately heard by the players outside. Worried about the pregnant woman, the players urged the old lady to go check on her. But surprisingly, she didn't care at all and kept playing mahjong. The woman in the kitchen, however, was in unbearable abdominal pain. Helpless, she could only endure the pain and call for her mother again. But when her mother heard the call, she didn't care at all. She said there were still 2 months until the due date. It was probably just a stomachache from catching a cold, and told her daughter to drink some hot water to feel better. Without waiting for her daughter to speak more, she hung up the phone. Unknowingly, her carelessness had cost the life of her grandchild, which could have been saved. The woman, seeing that her mother wouldn't come back, had no choice but to call her brother. But her brother, who was partying at a bar, didn't notice her call. Seeing that no one answered, she called her husband, the CEO, who was on a flight back. But at that moment, the man was on the plane returning home. Before help could arrive, the woman fainted due to excessive bleeding. Meanwhile, the old lady had incredibly good luck at mahjong that night. After a few rounds, her friends ran off in defeat. Looking at the money in her hands, she was overjoyed. Once she had calmed down, she remembered there was someone in the kitchen. When she saw her daughter lying on the floor, she was so scared she didn't know what to do. Fortunately, the younger son returned just in time and rushed her to the hospital. Looking at her unconscious daughter, the old lady finally felt fear. If something happened to the baby, her son-in-law would definitely stop giving her allowance. To her surprise, the son-in-law called at that moment. Flustered, the mother-in-law said her daughter was just being checked and assured him that she had taken good care of her. Before the CEO could say more, the mother-in-law hung up the phone. However, the doctor came out soon after and informed them that they were too late and couldn't save the baby. Hearing this news, the old lady was panicked. The younger son planned to tell his brother-in-law the truth, but his plan was stopped by his mother. If the son-in-law found out, they wouldn't have a good life in the future, and the dowry for her younger son's marriage would also be ruined. Reluctantly, the son was persuaded by his mother. What they didn't know was that the CEO had already returned early, and had learned from his own sources that his wife was at the hospital. Frantically, he was rushing to see her. Meanwhile, the old lady was encouraging her son to hide the miscarriage, and even came up with the idea of stealing a neighbor's newborn baby to switch with hers. The younger son, brainwashed by his mother, sneaked into the nursery, found the cousin's baby, and immediately took it away. The old lady, anxious and worried about anything going wrong, was waiting. Just when she was getting nervous, she suddenly saw her son-in-law standing in front of her. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the man immediately asked where his wife was. To her surprise, the old lady lied through her teeth, saying that her daughter was resting elsewhere, and to cover up the truth about the baby, she told her son-in-law that his wife had already given birth. She just hadn't had time to tell him yet. Hearing this, the man was immediately overjoyed, and asked his mother-in-law to take him to see his wife. Just then, the younger brother walked in, holding the stolen baby in his arms.